Thank you, one, so much for joining us here uh, for our annual member meeting. This is kind of an update as well as our plans for 2019 we're going to cover with you. I doubt we'll take up the full hour. Certainly, we want to go ahead and make you aware of what's going on. And Paul, go ahead, good, and you can go to the next slide. Um, what we want to do is make sure everybody understands this is actually a requirement, and I think most of you understand that TSANet is a not-for-profit organization, and as such, we're actually required to do this by our bylaws. But it's an opportunity. We look at it, well, okay, yeah, we got to do it, but at the same time, we look at it as an opportunity to be able to give our members an update on what we've done in 2018, where we're headed in 2019. So Paul, who is our Director of Strategy and Business Development, we're going to tag team you guys. We're going to go through several things. I want to cover kind of the business aspect of it, as well as give you kind of a high-level view. Paul is going to talk about some really exciting stuff that we're going to be diving into in 2019. We've been listening to the membership now for several years and developed what we think is a really good strategy to implement. So we're gonna dig into that and talk about that. But let me go through a few of the business slides here to talk about that first. What our members wanted us to do in this year for 2018 was certainly grow the membership. That's always been a goal of the organization. The more members, the more value we bring to the industry. In this year specifically, looking at not only adding more members, but looking at different sectors, including channel partners. And we've been fairly successful at doing a couple of things differently in 2018 that I think you're going to find is going to be the beginning of where we're going to be headed in 2019 and beyond. I mentioned this thing. I'm not going to get into the weeds on it because Paul is going to talk about this new thing that we've been doing. But as you're aware, we've had case exchange. We've had multiple discussions, including face-to-face members with our meetings about how we can improve to that collaboration mechanism, because that's what we do as an organization, is set up that collaboration mechanism. And we're going to talk about what we've come out with based on the feedback and the interest that we've got from our members. And then this whole thing around solution support is something that's beginning to take off a little bit. And we've had something in place for a while, but this is the concept of, I've got a solution out there, I'm providing it out to my customer base in the industry, and I've got several vendors or members that are involved in this solution that I need a high-level collaboration with. So it's not like an open group where you have this big, huge ecosystem, but it's actually the ability for you to create your own little ecosystem in a many-to-many relationship. And we'll talk about that a little bit. That's something that our members have wanted us to do, and we've been able to deliver on that, and I see more of that happening. But here's the bottom line, right? Which is, I think we've gotten to the point to where we're able to actually establish whatever it is you need from a relationship perspective. I think we're in a pretty good shape from a TSANet perspective to be able to satisfy those needs, especially from a collaboration support perspective. So this kind of give you an idea of the high-level roadmap that we've had. And I'm not going to go through each one of these bullet points. There are a couple of things that I want to point out. In 2017, obviously, we really were targeting in on the membership and trying to polish up our marketing of what it is that we're really doing for our membership and what it is that we're providing, and making sure that we had a clear message out to the membership. And I think we accomplished that, as well as then we got into this whole concept of, we've got this electronic case exchange, which our members wanted us to do, and look and see what we can do with the TSANet model in general, which was like this solution support type of thing and all that. As we got into this year, right, one of the things was, again, to add and look at more of that solution support framework, and look at also what we wanted to do with channel members and just generally member adoption. We've had an issue with TSANet because it's kind of a low volume thing that it's been out there. People sort of knew about it, or maybe they didn't know exactly what it did. So what we really wanted to do is improve how people utilize TSANet and how our members utilize the service. And I think you're going to see, I think we've done quite a bit with that. We did a whole public website refresh. We'll talk about that a little bit. I think that was a major task that we took on, but I think the public website looks really good, and it's got some very clear messaging on it. We still go out to the TSIA, TSW Vegas show. We did that this year out in Las Vegas that we've done for several years. And then if you look into 2019, and you see down at the bottom here, you're going to see how we're starting to get into this next generation collaboration platform. And that's something that we did. And basically this year was taking a lot of feedback and developing that. We've done a lot of work over the last several months in getting that developed. And now you're going to see a deployment strategy that we're going to come up in 2019, how we're going to actually go out and do that. And that will also include this solution support framework that we're doing. So in 2019, you're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see also the focus groups have been huge for 2018. We'll talk a little bit about that. Again, the member adoption, and we're moving into this TSANet Connect thing. Paul's going to talk to you about that. And then the other thing we want to do from time to time is, as an organization, is sit back and look at this and say, well, from a strategic perspective, where do we want to go next? We want to always keep our members in mind of what we're trying to do next so we can keep ahead of that path and to be able to provide a service out to the industry that you guys can deploy, utilize, and you get your value out of your membership. Okay? So our membership status, this is something we're pretty excited about. I mean, I've been doing this for now, this is 25 years, and we'll be doing 26 years next year. We have hit our highest amount of members that we've ever had before. And so now we are up over 600 members. You can see on the right-hand side over here, a lot of those are limited members, right? So they've been pulled into these custom groups, and they might be in a one-to-one relationship or a couple of one-to-one relationships. But that is where we actually end up getting our members that become open group members. And that's what is comprised of this basic and premium TSANet. We're targeted to come up with over 100 members. I think we'll be pretty close to that. We actually may meet that. We've been always kind of hovering around the 100 member category. We'd like to push above that, quite honestly, because that's where we get a lot of our revenue that we can put back into the membership. But again, I think the key point is that we've got over 600 members that are part of the organization now, and once they're part of a relationship, whether they don't have a relationship with you specifically or not, they're already a member. They've signed into the code of conduct. Very easy for them to either upgrade into a higher level membership or be able to set up a custom group with another company. So once they're members, and that's good in what we can do. As far as the focus group is concerned, we just had a meeting, for example, last week in India. Rainer Zelanka over in Germany has done just a fantastic job with the Europe focus group, and excuse me, the North America focus group has been going on now for several years. We're looking to add Japan. This is a way that what we do is to be able to maintain our international focus and what those needs are from an international perspective. And the way we used to do it was we actually had a different board and a different organization, and that got to be kind of conflicting with things that we were doing. So we've actually gone down this path of focus group, and it's working out very, very well. Paul will talk a little bit about maybe how you can get more involved in this. We're now established in Europe, very good, in North America, very good. India has now had their second meeting now. That was, again, we just had it extremely active in that area, as well as Australia, and we plan on looking at moving into Japan. That's got challenges behind it. Most of you are aware of that, so we may need some help in doing that, but we would really like to get established in Japan as well. Here in North America, we're having these face-to-face meetings. That also continues in Europe. They have face-to-face meetings, and we're looking at actually establishing a face-to-face meeting in 2019 in India, as well as looking into Japan, probably more toward the end of 2019, maybe into 2020. And then again, this partner group thing has really taken off in 2018. It's something we want to focus on for 2019. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, but from a membership perspective, again, 600 something members, that's something that you can go out and talk about. You're part of an organization that has over 600 companies that are part of this. That's, to me, is a very strong statement. Okay, from a business perspective, you all should be aware of our finances, right? And I'm not gonna get into the weeds about it. Obviously, Paul and I report into a board, and then that board also has an executive committee, which includes a treasurer, chairman, that kind of thing. But I think from a financial perspective, what we want to do is kind of give you an idea of where we were. We were actually scheduled to lose a little bit of money. From an IRS perspective, to maintain our 501c6 status, we actually have to show the IRS that we're putting money back into the membership. And so we actually had budgeted to lose money, not a lot, but a little bit of money in 2018. And I actually think we're going to end up actually a little bit better than planned. We actually may not lose as much. Now, there's some phasing that'll be in, but we're looking at the end of November at about spending about $763K over the 839 plan. And again, there's some phasing. We're doing a lot of work in our development of our website and TSANet Connect. But again, I think we're going to be fine from a budgeting perspective, which keeps our treasurer happy. It looks like our revenue is going to be pretty close to being on target. And I just want to give you guys an idea from an organization perspective, right? And we expect to end in 2018 with about $790K in cash assets. So the organization is certainly viable. We've got no issues or worrying about going downhill. The board is also very conservative with how we spend our money and looking and making sure that we get the best out of our membership dollar and doing those kind of things. So I think the bottom takeaway out of this is, from a financial perspective, we're in pretty good shape. And it looks as though we're going to end this year better than what we expected. Okay, from a marketing perspective, one of the ways we saved a lot of money, we did all this public website stuff in-house. And we've got Brittany here who's taken over a lot of stuff. You're going to see even some more exciting stuff that we're doing in 2019 that Brittany's helped us out on the marketing side with the new public website. We continue to keep that up to date and evolve that. We also updated all of our member brochures, which you don't use as much when you go out to trade shows. You don't see the brochures anymore, but we use them when we send out membership renewals, and anybody that wants to know about it, they're up on the website where you can go look at it. So we updated all of that stuff in 2018. We updated our slide decks, which I use all the time and Paul uses all the time to update our membership on what's going on, including our member help on the website. We did a lot of work on that. And then it's something near to dear to my heart this was 25 years for me. So that's quite an accomplishment in itself. There's not a lot of organizations in the technical area that have made it around for 25 years. And we're one of them, and it looks like we're stronger than ever with our membership. So we promoted our 25 years. I'm kind of sorry to see that go, but I guess I'll have to wait for my 30-year anniversary to see what we're doing with that. So that's what we did on the marketing side. A lot of work that we did, and that really was accomplished a lot by a team effort here headed up by Paul. Okay, and I think I'm going to turn it over to you now, Paul. Why don't you take over from the technology committee perspective?
Great, thanks a lot, Dennis. So as far as the services, as you saw in the high-level roadmap, we had a lot of investment happening in both 2018 and 2019 as far as creating this next generation collaboration platform. And what we did first is put together this technology committee. So, we wanted to make sure that what we were developing was something that was reflecting on what the member needs were out there. So we put together this team. You kind of see the folks that were on this. These were, what I would call kind of anchor members in TSANet. So a lot of collaboration happens with these members. They have a lot of groups. So we really felt we needed to make sure that we're including all their input. This team was chartered with creating the longer-term case exchange roadmap. What we ended up with, and I'll share with you some highlights of this. If you haven't seen the webinar, we've basically come out with a new system called TSANet Connect. Then the team was chartered with setting requirements for the member web. This also became TSANet Connect. And then they're also chartered with focusing on this data protection requirements. Again, that also became TSANet Connect. So really what we ended up doing on the system side when we looked at both the member web and case exchange and what was the future, we ended up really kind of merging those two platforms together, and now what we call TSANet Connect. So it is just like the member web was a neutral site. It's really the place where all members are going to go and collaborate. But you'll see we've made a lot of improvements here. We've kind of took what the best parts of the member web were and the best parts of case exchange were, created a lot of flexibility around how members extend their processes to the web, but at the same time creating a lot of consistency on how you engage members, and hopefully you'll see. I feel pretty comfortable. We've hit a good sweet spot there. So we've improved a lot here. First and foremost, on the caller interface, since this is really the main use case is for your engineers to log into this thing, quickly find a partner, and quickly initiate what we're now calling a collaboration case with them. So you'll see, we've really simplified that process. Now it has integrated workflow for any type of exceptions. And then as far as the development standpoint, it's a very fast and simple web app. So we've really made it be, something that's really kind of centered on that single use case. The second thing that we've moved to is creating what we're now calling a new standard inbound process. So before it used to be, you had the choice as far as I want to create this manual process where I give a set of instructions to companies, or you could have choose case exchange, which was more of a form-based approach. And now we're really moving to a single way of collaborating, and it is form-based. It will either use a default email workflow, or you'll have the ability to integrate it into your system. So kind of a choice there. Either take the default, which doesn't require any type of IT involvement from your organization, or if you're looking to have a little bit more integration with your systems, we can do that as well. And again, it's really simplified to focus on creating the collaboration. One, I would say, key lesson that we learned from Case Exchange was that that was really what members were looking for. They wanted to make sure we had a very easy, simple way of creating a collaboration, getting the two endpoints connected. But what Case Exchange did was maybe took it a little bit too far, and then wanted to stay in the middle as the two endpoints were collaborating. And that created a lot of challenges as far as data privacy, complexity, as far as integrating your processes into it. So we've kind of stepped away from that and really made this all about connecting the endpoints and letting the two endpoints then communicate in the most natural way. That could be email, phone, or some type of collaboration system such as Slack or Teams or something like that. So extremely flexible now as far as how members work. And then kind of the last piece as far as TSANet Connect goes, and again, we learned this with Case Exchange as well, and that is we need to provide a very easy way for members to integrate their systems. And we attempted to do that with Case Exchange by creating what we would call helper apps that you would then install into your systems. But that was probably even a step too complex, and again required a lot of scrutiny and involvement from the IT organizations, because it was a different type of technology, and now you're adding some kind of foreign thing into your systems. And the approach that we're taking now is our entire system's kind of an API first architecture, and all of these kind of SaaS-based systems now, whether they're a CRM system, any type of ticketing system, or any one of these collaboration systems, they have their own APIs and their own ways of extending. So what our approach now is to basically leverage the APIs that these systems have in place. This kind of results in more of a native integration and something that's much more accepted by your IT organization. And then, in the interest of making sure this isn't a black box, that was another concern with members when it came to Case Exchange. Is they didn't really understand what was going on there. couldn't really customize it. And now we've basically moved everything to GitHub. So if there is a situation where a member, either wants to contribute to there or create a very unique set of processes, we do have the ability now and are very open to a code development environment as necessary. So a much more open approach now to TSANet Connect. So then as far as where we're at with TSANet Connect, as Dennis said, a lot of time and energy here over the last several months with the development. We feel we'll exit this year with really all the basics covered, right? So we'll have the new platforms in place. We've got all the new caller interface. All the basics are kind of completed. As we exit January, we'll really have I would say almost 90% of the solution completed, right? So all the admin interfaces, all the partner groups, and then, kind of the solution support group there as well, which we plan to do a reference integration with Slack. And then as we go into February, it's really kind of finishing off the system and then starting to extend it with what we're going to call kind of reference integrations. And the first two that are defined here is Salesforce. That is definitely the dominant SaaS system out there that members are using. But then Zendesk is kind of the second one. So again, what this approach will be is we'll work with a group of members to create that integration. That'll be, again, kind of this code development thing. And then we'll provide that to the members in probably a couple different ways. It could be that it's a small little helper app or something that sits in the app store of the CRM platform, or it could be something you download off of our website and gives you full ability to customize and modify it. So again, providing as much flexibility as we need to in these areas when we talk about integrations. And that kind of covers it for 2018. So I guess now maybe Dennis, I'll hand it back over to you as we talk about the plans for 2019.
Okay, great. Thanks, Paul. And I just want to cover a couple of things here, and then actually I would go back and I actually going to ask. We're going to open this up for questions, and ask Paul a couple of questions on the implementation of TSANet Connect, so you guys get an understanding of what's going on there. But as far as 2019 of what we're setting up our goals to be, right, they really fall into these three categories of growing the membership, which is what they've always wanted to do, and then obviously there's a huge effort that's going to be going on behind this deployment of TSANet Connect and making sure the members are successful and measuring that. How do we measure that, and what are we looking at as far as what we consider to be member success? But let me talk a little bit about these custom groups a little bit. So we've been growing our membership, and again, I talked about the 600 members now, and a lot of those being limited members. That's really where we get our new members, is being exposed to TSANet from a company that decides, yeah, I want to use TSANet as my structure, either in this solution support environment where I'm creating that small many-to-many ecosystem where I can collaborate. And remember, when you do something like that, it doesn't have to be predicated upon a fact that there's a mutual customer. You get to define that as a group as to what those rules of engagement are. So I think we have a tendency to be stereotyped back into this thing about, okay, well, TSANet only works when there's a mutual customer on both ends. Well, that's true in our open group environment, but in a solution support environment, or even a partner program environment where it could be a one-to-one, it could be a one-to-many with hundreds of companies, you actually get to define that. So don't think that TSANet is one of those things where you get into this corner of, okay, it's got to be done this way. We actually let the members define what that relationship is, what the elements of that relationship is, and then use that legal framework that everybody signed up to. That's why these groups are growing so quickly, is because this is the path of least resistance for you to be able to get your partner program going. Okay, so that's growing our membership, and again, obviously through our open groups as well. And again, I just talked about this in this solution support environment, right? We're actually, through the TSANet Connect, this is actually, I think, going to be even more enhanced. We created this thing called a microsite, which which really didn't get used a lot. It's really more set up, hey, I need to collaborate with this partner. So we've done some things in TSANet Connect that I think you're really going to like when we move into this solution support environment. It makes it a lot easier. At the same time, you still get to have your documents up there and be able to do those kind of things. So I think you're really going to like this. FlexPod is probably the best example of this. But again, I'll go back to, hey, you guys got together, you've created a solution for a set of customers, you need that high level of collaboration to occur between the companies. You can use TSANet to make that happen. We've got a couple good examples and another one I hope coming out here in 2019 that'll be a really good example of how TSANet can help you in that solution support environment. And then this is another thing that has actually been really big for us in 2018, and I expect to continue to grow. And that is, this really does become a path of least resistance for you. You've gone out there, you've got a partner network, you've created the solution, or they're enhancing the solution, they're doing whatever with your products, but when that's done with, you need to make sure that you've got that support collaboration mechanism in place. And this is a really easy way to do it, where you can host that member coming in at a very nominal fee, or they can pay the fee at a very nominal rate to be able to become a member into your group only. So they don't have to collaborate with everybody else. They can just collaborate with you, but a really easy way. And we're working with these companies to onboard companies all the time now. So this is an outstanding way for you to utilize your membership and get more money out of the value of your membership by utilizing this custom group thing and pulling in your technology partners. We looked at this in the second bullet down here from perspective of how can we make this even better, because we know it's growing, we know the members want to use it, there's value add to this. Once it really gets taken off within a company, it seems like it really starts to grow. So we decided to look at what the process was from a legal perspective and from an operational perspective, and we've updated our legal framework. So we're actually going to make this easier. If they're an open group member, it's almost going to be like, yeah, I'm part of that group, and I'm going to utilize the existing relationship that I already have with that company. So you don't even, there's no legal paperwork to sign or anything like that. You're basically just pulled into that relationship with still the ability to set up all the little things that you might want to do if you want to set up a different process or those kind of things. So we'll be in touch with you on more of what we're doing in 2019 as far as this streamlined process, but we're making it even easier for only limited members to come into a single addendum, and also for our open group members to come in. So stand by on that. We'll be in touch with you on that. And then again, this whole TSANet Connect thing that Paul's been talking about, making it really easy for you to come in to these relationships, set up that collaboration path through TSANet Connect, and boom, you're off and running. So really easy to do in 2019. I think you're going to like where we're headed with this. And I think, Paul, this is yours.
Yes. So second big effort, and I would say this area is really going to dominate our time and energy, and that's deploying TSANet Connect. And part of the reason is it's not an approach that we're taking where we upgrade the systems and the next morning all members are using TSANet Connect. We essentially have to do a kind of like a little mini onboarding of each member into the system. So the approach we're taking here is we'll be migrating members in groups. So we're kind of doing a migrate and then kind of check the usage, make sure things are working. If we need to make some tweaks or improvements to the system, we certainly are going to do that, and then kind of circle back around and migrate the next batch. So it's kind of a migrate, improve, and we feel that at least this approach will still allow us to bring members over fairly quickly, but it'll give us enough time, and we'll have enough design into the timeline here. If we need to make modifications, we certainly will. And this gives you a look at what our initial plans are. So phase one, we've got a very small group of members. We're looking at probably, 6 to 8 to give you a sense of the first batch. Some of those are technology committee members. They're usually kind of very high usage, fairly complex ones. So really kind of trying to take care of those first. Then as we go into February, that's when we'll start to bring larger groups of members in. And you can see, we're kind of targeting the group of members that we know are on Salesforce. We know we've got a group on Zendesk, and then we know there's another group of members that just want to use the standard email process. So if you fit in kind of one of these 3 buckets, you'll more than likely will reach out to you here in the first part of February to start setting you up. And then as we get into April, it's really focusing on all the rest of the basic and premium members. And then that is also when we're going to bring over those limited members. And as you saw, we've got 500 plus of those, so quite a few. But obviously, those are going to come over in much larger batches. Probably a lot more automation with moving those over, because those are much more simple as far as how we're going to bring those onto TSANet Connect. And we also feel that probably in this March-April timeframe, we'll define that any new member would migrate onto the new system. So again, we're being a bit flexible on that. It'll probably depend a little bit on the confidence we're seeing as we start to migrate larger quantities of members on in the February timeframe. But if you want to learn a little bit more about TSANet Connect, I did include a link to the first webinar that we had here. So if you just go to this link, you'll see the slides. You'll also see the recording of the webinar. That walks you through a demo that gives you a lot more details on what TSANet Connect is and what you need to start thinking about as far as planning. But what we kind of stressed at the end of that webinar is we will contact you. So we're starting the process now, starting to kind of organize who should go when. And that's obviously based on a lot of things, who you collaborate with, do you have partner programs, all kinds of things kind of go into which group we think you would best fit into. So we'll proactively reach out to you and then start the migration plans. So that's how the migration is going to look. And we do expect this is probably going to take into the summer of next year. And again, some of that's going to be dependent on, what type of customization members want, improvements we spot that we need along the way. So again, we kind of stress to the board is this is much more of a quality-based timeline. So we don't have everybody's going to be over at this date no matter what. It's really kind of defined on the quality of the system, the feedback we're getting from the members. We just want to make sure people have a good experience getting over to TSANet Connect. Okay, so then moving into the last piece of the 2019 strategy, and that is really kind of centered on member success. Obviously, TSANet Connect is a big part of that, but there is a lot more. So we do see the regional focus groups that Dennis mentioned. Those have been quite successful in 2018. We've had a lot of great feedback from it, and we're going to continue to expand those. So you'll see here in the next slide, I'll kind of talk through a little bit what's going to be happening in each of the regional focus groups. But we've been quite pleased about that, and hope that if you're on this call and you're not part of one of these regional groups, you've got some colleagues that you feel would be a great fit into a different group, then please reach out to myself, and we'll kind of make sure we get them involved in that. When it comes to TSANet Connect, also, as you can imagine, there's going to be an increased focus on the users of TSANet Connect. So I think this is, again, a great opportunity. If you're on this call and you're kind of an administrator and you're responsible for the success of TSANet within your organization, that getting the users to be aware of it and successful with it and such is key. So I think 2019 is going to provide a great opportunity for you to kind of retrain your users, re-message out to them the benefits of TSANet, and really have TSANet Connect be the centerpiece of that. So I think it's a great opportunity for everyone that's moving in. We'll certainly continue the technology committee And we see that also then the last part that you'll see here is the strategy that Dennis talked about. As you saw there on the one of the first slides, we had the 2017, 2018, 2019, kind of strategy plans. So we'll be developing a new long-term strategy at the end of 2019. So taking a more detailed look at the regional focus groups, I'm not going to walk you through all this text. You can certainly kind of read through it. I'll just highlight the key points. I would say first and foremost, Europe tends to be the group that we look to kind of set where focus groups are going. They're certainly a few years ahead. This is one that's probably on its 6th or 7th year. So it's been around quite a while. And they're really now, if you look at their agendas and their topics that they're talking about, there's certainly TSANet stuff on there, but there's also quite a bit of general support, best practices. It's just really kind of become a great place for support managers to get together, do some networking, learn about kind of the key trends, talk about issues they've got and what they can do to improve it. So I would say it's really kind of become, something even above and beyond a way to give feedback to TSANet and for us to kind of share what we're doing. So we do see Europe, being kind of the leader in that area. North America probably isn't too far behind. We actually started this one, was a strategy day that was added on the end of the board meetings. And now that's kind of transformed into a focus group. We still do meet 2 times a year. We tag that on to a board meeting. So it really kind of gives the ability for the members in North America to, chat and spend some time with the board members. But this one also, as you can imagine, getting everyone to kind of travel in North America is a challenge. So we allow remote attendance there, and we've been kind of successful with that also. It's about 50-50. So about half the members of the focus group will attend remote. The other half will be face-to-face. And a lot of times it depends on the location. We try to have one on the East Coast and one on the West Coast to try to make travel not be so challenging. India is certainly, in my view, it's taken off extremely quickly. And one of the comments that was made from the team when they first came on was, probably over half of the volume when it comes to support is done on India for almost all of our core members. So certainly that's where a lot of the operational stuff happens. And we kind of see India is maybe the place where we look to give us a lot of feedback on operationally. How do you get TSANet to work well, TSANet Connect, all of those types of things. Really feel India can provide great feedback. Australia is very similar. We started that about the same time as India. We have meetings in Sydney a couple times a year. Again, we see those being, some discussions on TSANet, some discussions on general best practices, but just like these other ones, getting together face to face with your peers and other companies, it really seems to be a big benefit, and they certainly enjoy that. And then last but not least, we do plan to expand into Japan. That will be taking place late in 2019. It could bleed over a little bit into the early part of 2020. We'll kind of see. I think the thing that will drive the timing of that is the success of TSANet Connect. We really feel that we need to have that largely deployed before we start to expand the focus group into Japan. That will take a decent amount of effort, and we want to make sure that that's done well. So that's focus groups. And again, I'm just going to re-emphasize, if you're not part of a focus group, it's a great way to participate, give us feedback from TSANet. But again, a lot of benefit too, and just networking with your peers. And then last but not least, our strategy. And, again, highlighting next year is the year that we put together the new long-term strategy. So we will be getting input from the regional focus group. So again, this is where if you want to, help drive, what do we do next? This is where you want to participate. So if you're not part of a regional focus group, definitely get in there. That will make sure that those folks are definitely involved in the next year strategy. Same with the technology committee. We're keeping those in place. And then as far as the timing on this, this will take place in the second half of the year. So all of the face-to-face meetings for the regional focus groups will contain a strategy section on it where we kind of take a step back, do a SWOT, and really kind of make sure we've got great input into defining the strategy. That really kind of comes in then where the board really gets involved, and we kind of iterate through these, and it really then sets an approved long-term strategy from the board. And as you kind of saw on this meeting, it really kind of then will set, you know, the plans for 2020, the plans for 2021, and the plans for 2022. So we really kind of lock those things down from a high level, and then certainly as time goes on, there's some iteration there, but it really gives us some good guidance on what we're doing, and ability for members to really kind of see what we're doing and give feedback on that. So I guess with that, Dennis, we can turn it over to see if there's any questions or anything maybe that we missed that you want to highlight.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. If anybody has any questions or they'd like to bring up any new business as a member, this would be the time to do it. I've got the question pane open there. A couple questions that always come in. I'm not trying to defer any questions, but just to let anybody know, we will get these slides out to everybody that signed up, and they'll be made available on the website, as well as we'll put this recording up on the website as well. While we're giving people an opportunity to do that, Paul, one thing that I wanted to bring up, and you emphasized it very well on our deployment strategy of TSANet Connect, right? So people don't need to get in a hurry. We're going to get in touch with them, right? We've already selected some of the members that we're going to target to move over. So nobody needs to get in a big, huge, oh, well, I need to do this. But here's the question, and what I wanted to bring up to the members is, if they were to be proactive about anything, what would you suggest that they do in preparation to get ready to move over to the new collaboration platform?
Yeah, great question. So I think really kind of the key is for them to kind of think about, and again, this focus on the users, I think is important. So again, it's a great opportunity for them to kind of retrain the users in that. So if you're in a large organization and that's something that really is best to put like a little mini project or something around, I would start to think about, what's a good, resource to kind of help with that training and messaging internally. Certainly, we're going to provide all the assets and such. We will, be happy to host webinars specific to your teams and such. But we know a lot of members have very specific ways of deploying new systems. That's kind of what this is. So I'd say that's number one. Number two is there's going to be quite a bit of flexibility as far as what's the right way to integrate this into your process. So, that could be just as simple as taking a look at what your current volume is and kind of understanding, what the future looks like as well. So the more we know about what you want to do with TSANet in the future, the better we'll be able to kind of put you in the right bucket. So it could be that today you're not doing any partner groups, but maybe you are really planning to do a lot of partner groups in 2019. That's a great thing to let us know, because that certainly could put you in one slot or the other. So we'll again have these kind of groups defined, and it'll be based largely on how you're using TSANet today. And then we'll start reaching out to you with these kind of little mini project plans that might have some questions that we need answers on it at first. But I'd say those are kind of two things to look at, right? How do you internally train your users on a new system? Because this is certainly going to be one of those. And then the second is, what are your future plans for TSANet? That'll help us onboard you the right way.
And then Paul, obviously, as we move with the integrations of Salesforce and some of the others that you talked about, we'll obviously be letting our members know, right, as we move forward with that, how that would be deployed, et cetera, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, the thing to keep in mind there as well, because we've had some detailed discussions with some members, is, if you're on Salesforce, for example, you still have a choice, right? You could say, well, I don't want the the integration into my Salesforce. I don't want to talk to my Salesforce IT team. Just give me the basic email process. I don't have a lot of volume, and that's perfectly fine. So don't feel like if you're on a certain system, and we have a very specific integration methodology for that you have to pick that. If you don't have the volume, you just don't want to hassle your IT team with it, no matter how simple it is. You'll certainly have the option just to stick with the standard email process.
Okay, excellent. I don't have any other questions. Let me kind of wrap this up, and as I suspected, we're done a little bit early. I want to thank you for your support and your membership. This has been an organization that has always been member driven, as Paul has mentioned through this, and continues to do so. And I think that really ties into the strength of why we've been able to provide this to the industry we have. I would also say the more active our membership is, the better it is. So regardless of what level of membership you have, we certainly want to hear from you. We want you to be involved. We've got these face-to-face meetings where we invite our members to come into it, and they can be very productive, even outside of the TSANet scope, where you just get a chance to meet with some of the other members and share some of your stories and what your challenges are. So thank you so much for your membership. We appreciate everything that you do for us. We will certainly be in touch with you. And if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and close it down. Thanks a lot, Paul. We appreciate it.
Great. Thanks a lot, everyone.
All right. Bye-bye.